Hi, my name is Star. This is my first video on my channel. I hope you guys will enjoy it. And I'd like for you guys to tell me anything you'd be interested in me posting. I plan to make this a channel of variety with singing and ASMR and other quirky things. And I'd like to just jump right in the video. So this video is about a creepy teacher I had back in high school, my junior year. I'm 21 going on 22 years old, so that was about 5 years ago. So some of the events are a little foggy, but I kind of remembered mostly everything just because it was a pretty impactful event on my life. So starting off, we got a new teacher my junior year, and he was pretty young. We had 2 older teachers, and everyone was kind of excited to get the new teacher. I didn't really care. But I ended up getting the new teacher. We had to go sit on the far side of the gym if we had him, and he was calling us up so that we could bring him our paper, and then so that he could find out how to pronounce our names, what our names were, so he could know our faces, stuff like that. So I went over, he called me up, I went over to give him my paper, and I told him how I had to say my name. My name is Star, so it's pretty simple. And he was like, oh, I have a star tattoo. I was like, oh, that's cool, nice. He's like, you want to see it? It's like, sure, why not? So he's all like, oh yeah, look at it. Trying to show me his tattoo that's behind his ear. And it was kind of a red flag for me just because it was a really weird scenario, but it wasn't creepy. It was just awkward. So I took it with a grain of salt. I gave him the benefit of doubt, and I was like, it's not that weird. But I told my friend about it because it was just an awkward exchange. But I already sensed something was off. So 2 weeks pass, and the girls, of course, flocked to him because he was attractive and he was young. He was an MMA fighter. He was pretty built. He had tattoos. And like I said, he was young. And the girls at our school, they loved young, attractive men. I remember there was a fist fight over our math substitute. Like, these girls literally threw blows over a man that did not want either of them. So these girls were flocking to him, and I thought he was cute, but I wasn't doing all that. Like, you're a grown man. I'm a kid. Like, what kind of relationship are we gonna have? You're gonna be my teacher, that's it. These girls they were all over him. And this was the second red flag. I remember he would often be in the hall. We'd be we'd line up before we went to gym, and we would all go down at the same time. He would take attendance in the hallway. And as we were waiting, girls would be rubbing on his biceps and stuff, and he'd be acting all inconvenienced about it, but he'd be like flexing, letting them rub on him, and I felt so uncomfortable about it. And I remember telling my friends, because my friends weren't in my gym class with me. It was me by myself and a bunch of other students that I'm not the most social person, so it was hard to make friends in my gym class. But to the people that I did speak to, I was just like, doesn't that seem weird to you? And they're like, no, he's just friendly. He's just really friendly. And to me, I was like, that's beyond friendly. Like, at this point, that's doing too much. And these girls were living for it. They loved it. And I felt so uncomfortable about it. And I remember one day I wasn't late, but I came later to the locker room. And I had just come from talking to my advisor or something like that, so I ended up coming later, and I was one of the last people to change. And I'm coming out, and these 2 girls, like, he's in a corner with these 2 girls, and they're rubbing on his arms. And he's like, you want to feel? I was like, oh my, no, are you crazy? And I ran away. I was like, that's, no. And for our gym, you could choose to go downstairs and do the field stuff in the gymnasium, or you could go upstairs to the weight room and run laps or walk laps around the school. So I decided to go upstairs because I was like, I'm not going to be with a creep today. Like, I do not want to deal with that. I'm good on that action. So I went upstairs. And I told my friends about it, and they're like, he's just friendly. But he would do this often. This was a constant thing. It would happen too often, to the point where I was like, does no one else find this weird? Eventually, though, he ended up going back to the elementary school. English. He ended up going back to the elementary school that he started at, and one of my acquaintances from school, she was in my class, her sisters were his students, so her family knew him pretty well. And he ended up going back to work there, but he came to our school to work as an ISS monitor, which ISS is in-school suspension, and it's for people who would get in trouble and get kicked out of class, or if you got in a fight and you kind of didn't start it, you were defending yourself, they'll put you in ISS. And basically the monitors would make sure you got your homework, make sure you were doing your homework, escort you to lunch, stuff like that. Basically you stayed there all day long. And that classroom was across from the gymnasium. It was in the basement with the gymnasium and the cafeteria. And I remember one day we had to do partner work. And we were all facing the back wall of the gymnasium. And I remember turning around to help my partner do sit-ups. I had to hold their feet. And as I looked up, he was standing there, not doing his job as the ISS monitor, mind you, standing there watching us. But not just like, oh, you know, smiley, like he doesn't come say hi to us or our new teacher. He's standing there like this. And it's so creepy and disturbing. And I was just like, what are you doing? Go work. Like, why are you here? And it was just strange. And it wasn't just like, oh, I'm standing out in the open so everybody knows I'm here. In the gym, you could divide it in two. So there were these notches in the walls that held dividers. So you take them and you pull out the divider. Well, he was hiding behind the notch and like doing this really creepy grin. And I feel like I was the only person that caught it, but maybe I wasn't, but I like got chills, shivered. I felt disgusted and I was like, oh God, oh no. So I asked my partner if we could turn around so that we didn't all have our butts facing him anymore. So her, or I don't know if it was a girl or not, we decided that we were going to turn around. So we were doing reverse while everybody else was still like with their butts towards the door, but I just didn't feel comfortable with my butt facing the doorway. And that wasn't the only instance of him being a creep and not doing his job. Because the kids in our school were bad. So why are you not watching those kids? Like, they could be in there making shanks and you're in here trying to watch our booties. Go do your job. But I didn't see this, but my sister saw that during lunch periods, while he's supposed to be doing ISS monitoring, he was walking through the cafeteria letting girls film him. What are you here for? Go work. Like, anyway, later on in the school year, he became the assistant track coach. And my sister and I got into our first play. It was Annie. And so we're in the middle of rehearsal. Yeah, we're in the middle of rehearsal, or we were in the middle of rehearsal. We were having a snack break in between rehearsal. And we're in the cafeteria, and this girl, one of her classmates and acquaintance, comes up and goes, I was in his car. And we're like, whose car? So she tells us, and I'm like, why were you in this grown man's car? But I'm giving it the benefit of the doubt, so I'm just like, oh, you were? Like, why? Everybody else at the table's like, oh my God, yeah, that's so cool. But my sister and I are looking at each other like, but I'm not gonna say anything until she finishes the story. Now, mind you, all these kids are trying to shoot their shots, but she was the biggest shot shooter of them all. Like, she was shooting from the half court. She was going the distance like Hercules, and I was appalled and shocked. It's just like, okay, you know, do your thing, but don't do your thing. But anyway, so she's my sister's age, mind you. My sister's 2 years younger than me. So at this point, they're 15. So she's telling us about how, you know, it was after a track meet and how her parents were late to come get her. So he let her sit in his car, so that she could stay warm. But then she said the time period, and I'm like, why? But, you know, sports run late. So I'm thinking like, okay, you know, benefit of the doubt again, maybe. But then she keeps telling us, like, this becomes a recurring event. And at this point, I'm like, where are your parents? Where do they work? Why are they always this late? Because she's hanging out in his car past 11 p.m. So what? What the heck? Something didn't sit right with me. So anyway, skip that, jump ahead. she starts out I jumped to senior year the next year. She starts out in school with us, and then a couple weeks later, she like goes ghost, like Danny Phantom ghost, like John Cena's us, like she disappears, and we're like, okay, all right, whatever. She wasn't in my classes. She wasn't my age, so I wasn't really aware of it until this news article starts circulating on Facebook. And we find out that our gym teacher, our old gym teacher, who is now a track coach at another school, is in police custody. And we're all like, why is he in police custody? We find out that he's there because he was having an affair with a student at his old school. His old school happens to be my school. So we're like, oh. And immediately I'm like, it's that girl. My sister and I are immediately like, he was having an affair with her. Now, I don't know if this is for a fact how it was figured out, but this is how it was said to have been figured out. This is alleged. Basically, he showed up to her house because she was sick and her father was home, and he basically spazzed out on him because he was like, you're not her teacher anymore, why are you coming to check on her? And everything just kind of came out. Now, she lied and said that she was 17 years old because that's the age of consent in New York, but she was actually 15 years old. So he thought it was okay to be messing with her, but you know, it doesn't, even if she was 17, that's your student, you don't do that. That's just so wrong on so many levels. But yeah, so that ends up happening. But also it was another alleged thing, that they had been hanging out on the weekends, and she had been around his child, which he had a small child and a girlfriend who was the same age as him, mind you. Like, why go for a child when you have a grown woman? His girlfriend's gorgeous. Like, not that looks for everything, but he had a gorgeous melanin goddess. This beautiful black woman. And he went for this little girl at our high school. And she was a beautiful girl, but she's a kid. Like, why? What was the point? Another alleged thing. So the girl, that my acquaintance in my class, whose sisters were his students as well, their father was in jail. In jail. And apparently he was supposed to be their father's cellmate. But after their father found out about the charges that were coming against him and the fact that he had been working with his kids, they had to put him in a separate cell because him and the other inmates were like, ixnay the newbie. Not like, you know, they weren't gonna do anything finite or final, but they were planning to rough him up. So they had to get him a different cell and put him like by himself because I've heard that in jail, people that mess with kids are among the most hated and often get roughed up the most. So that was a bad situation. And he was really delusional. Like, he thought they were in love. He's like, oh, I love her. Like, this is a future. I see a future with her. I'm gonna build a family with her. And we're all like, she's 15. You're half her age. At least I think he was. Like, why are you trying to build a relationship with this child? And then after that event, I think like a year later, this boy at our school, well, I had graduated at this point, but I was still friends with this boy on Facebook. And I saw him posting pictures of him and the ex-gym teacher in his car. And it was so weird. And he was making it seem like they had something going on, or like they were close friends or something, like they were still in communication. And I was just like, what the heck? But I was shocked, but I wasn't shocked because I immediately knew something was off about this man. Like, he just doesn't know how to act. It was weird. He just didn't know how to interact with people. Like, I'm bad with social cues and stuff sometimes. No, I understand social cues. I'm bad with I have bad social skills. Him, he just had bad social cues, and he had a staring problem. Like, I stare a lot, but his staring problem was on 10,000. Like, he needed some help. It was just shocking because I never thought that would happen in my lifetime. You hear about that type of stuff, but you never think it's going to happen in my school. And yeah, but we all kind of knew it was her. They just couldn't say who she was because she's a minor. They can't put it on the news, but we knew who it was. And it was just sad and scary. Like, I make jokes, but that's terrifying. Like, there are people like that are trying to get with little kids. This girl was literally like half his age. I am confusion. Like, why? You had a bomb girlfriend. Like, I just beats me. But anyway, thank you for watching my video. I hope you enjoyed this. So please leave a like and subscribe and comment anything you'd like me to do next. Yeah, I hope you enjoy. Have a great rest of your day. Bye.